And welcome back to Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Group Therapy. It's one of our special editions where I get to sit down with my fellow editors here at the news and we talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish. I'm going to let them introduce themselves real quick. We're going to start on the viewers' right.
Hey, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
Awesome. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to everyone who has joined us today. We're going to have a pretty quick show. Not too much to talk about. It looks like, first and foremost, unfortunately for the folks in New Orleans, they didn't, but we dodged the majority of the bad weather from that storm. I haven't heard anything from Office of Homeland Security here locally about any touchdowns or tornadoes.
No, all they did was say that if you do have any damage, just email eoc@lpgov.com. Or I can't remember the exact email address, but to basically reach out to the Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness if you did have any damage. They wanted to get that out there. That's how the process gets started on, trying to get money if you do have damage. So that would be the only thing. But yeah, we didn't have any touchdowns here. It was basically a good bit of rain for a little bit, some strong winds. But yeah, we dodged the bullets, unlike our people in New Orleans, which it was pretty devastating seeing some of those pictures the last day.
Sure. So it'll be interesting to see, as we continue to get more information out of some areas north and south of us. But thankfully, we dodged the worst of it. Going to come back to you, David. Going to touch base with Rob real quick. Spring sports in full swing.
Sure.
And I get to use that pun, thank God, because it's, softball and baseball, and they do swing a bat. So,
yes.
I know it's roundup season too. If you're looking at our
you noticed that, huh?
Yeah, if you're looking at our website over the weekend, you're going to be seeing a lot of roundups from baseball because remember, folks, we've got 18 high school teams out there, and they're all worthy of coverage. So we're trying to make sure we get everybody in. But first and foremost, before we get into any recent baseball, softball, parish meet's coming up, correct?
That would be next week for the parish meet, yeah. And as a kind of a prelude to that, Denham Spring is going to be hosting the Yellowjacket Invitational this afternoon at Walker. 16 teams. Talk with Coach Andy McLean at Denham, and they said they try to get a kind of a more broad spectrum field, just to give them a little taste of a little bit of everything instead of being maybe a pre-parish meet. Now you'll still have some teams from the area in here in Live Oak and Walker, Springfield, Albany, French Settlement, and Holden, I believe, are the parish teams. And then they've got some teams coming from kind of all over just to get an idea of what they've got going in. He said kind of one of the things that he's focused on with his team is the relays, and he stressed kind of the part that and of course, if you've ever talked to Coach McLean, they don't have a track.
Right.
So a lot of things that they do, and it comes down to small things like he said sometimes still got to line them up and show them what the arrows mean.
Right.
And he said a lot of times when we're getting on the track, we're getting on the track at the meets, and that's how we kind of figure things out. But they're still doing well. But he just, right now it's trying to figure out those small things because you're also to a point where district meet is right around the corner. They're going to get the parish meet done, and so time is it doesn't seem like it, but time is kind of really getting tight in the track season right now.
And that's a tough district. I mean, we talk about
yes.
Football, basketball, and into track. Maybe not, really not so much baseball, definitely softball. But when you get into track and you're talking about 4 or 5A, I mean, you're talking Denham, they're trying to figure it out. They'll have a track next year. But Walker's always got a good team. Live Oak's going to put some distance runners up there. Zachary, Central, and Scotlandville all have good track teams.
You will be tested.
Yes.
You will be tested by the time you get through the deal.
So that's what's coming up in the track and field world. Talk to us a little bit about any kind of recent baseball, softball that you've been in attendance.
Let's see. I went and covered Friday. It was Holden in Livonia. They won that one 11-8, I believe. Got a couple of home runs. They played a 2 out of 3 series over the weekend. They took 2. If I remember right, they took 2 from Livonia, which is pretty big for them in terms of the power rankings and things like that. Getting a little boost there. Let's see. Who else did we see? Last week got to see Doyle and French Settlement in softball, the third straight year that they played, of course, that's excluding 2020, the third straight time at Johnny Shartwell Park they played a one-run ball game. That one wound up 2-1. They've kind of figured that out, how to play those tight games. But both of those teams last year, if you remember, went to the state tournament. And every time they go there, I don't know what it is about when they play there, but the past few times it's been close game, and it always kind of comes down to the wire. Doyle winds up scoring 1 in the 6th to win it.
So close
Yeah,
ones,
yeah,
close ones.
yeah.
You see that a lot from Doyle. A lot of defense, but good defense. Tight defense. So thank you, sir,
Sure.
for those updates. Please remember to follow Rob on Twitter. He's always out there covering these games, and of course we got these big track meets coming up. Those are fun, all day deals.
Yeah.
Jumping over to David, we're going to wrap this up real quick. He's got 2 things to talk about. We're going to leave the controversial item for second, which would be the apartment complex. Let's talk about what the superintendent had to say at the latest school board meeting as the COVID regulations and restrictions have finally all gone to part.
Yeah, well, he kind of if you've seen the last couple weeks, Superintendent Joe Murphy wrote a letter to the editor that was published after Governor Edwards made the announcement that he was going to let the current public health proclamation expire, and it's just kind of revisiting the challenges of the last couple years. I mean, everybody has been affected, but I would venture to say that schools were probably in one of the more difficult positions because you're trying to safely educate, crowds of students, over 2 years. I mean, yes, you want to keep students safe, but also they have to be educated. I mean, so it was a really tough balancing act that school systems were put in, and so it was kind of Mr. Murphy's way of just, acknowledging that. He read his letter into the official minutes during the last school board meeting, and a couple of those board members were, thank goodness, thank God, everyone was kind of happy about that. But it just kind of was a way to revisit what they went through. I mean, you had those during the initial during the beginning of the 2020-2021 school year, after that 5-month layoff whenever the governor shut down all schools. I mean, those board meetings would get pretty tense because you had parents, teachers arguing, and obviously we're the Livingston Parish News, so that's what we report on. That was going on across the state. Livingston Parish was no different. Everyone was trying to figure out what to do. School systems, they, even ones that did it differently than Livingston Parish, they got backlash. So I mean, Livingston Parish was not unique in having, a lot of disagreement or debate about what should be done because we were in a situation that no one had ever dealt with before. So it was just kind of his way of revisiting that, thanking the community. That was his big thing. He just wanted to thank everyone for that. And, if people don't remember, Livingston Parish was one of the first ones to welcome students back. That was one of the first school districts, for sure, in the greater Baton Rouge area. I can't remember if it was in statewide, but they were one of among the first to welcome students back. At first they had that hybrid model, half go one day, half go the other. And then he, eventually gets down to 5 days a week, and you had to keep them in static groups. Just a bunch of stuff that they had to, on top of all the, teaching the kids. So yeah, it was just his way of thanking community and just kind of, recalling the difficulty, and now hoping that is behind us, at least until the end of this school year. So another 2 months. So at least, or not even that, less than 2 months now.
Yeah, about a month and a half.
Yeah, so at least here's the hoping that they can get through the rest of this school year without any other hiccups related to COVID.
Yeah, and I know a lot of us have our fingers crossed about that whole great COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can avoid that. Last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about that apartment complex in Denham Springs real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It was denied in planning and zoning, but it still has to go before the full group, full
Yes.
board. That'll be coming up Monday.
Yes.
So give us a little background on where this is, what it is, and why people seem to be so against it.
Well, it's a pretty much if you live in Livingston Parish, I feel like most of the people I hear or talk to are against any sort of new development, just because just the issues with infrastructure, flooding, that sort of thing. That's always on top of people's minds, especially since 2016. Well, this new proposed apartment complex is going to be on Rushing Road. There's about a 15-acre lot that's behind the Home Depot. For those familiar with the area, it's 170 units, I believe. It's supposed to be high-end apartments. That's what the developer is saying. High-end apartment complexes with a clubhouse, walking trail, pool. The whole 9 yards fitness center. So it's supposed to be high end, and there's going to be a big pond there. That's what they're hoping to eliminate some of the flooding concerns. But basically, this plot of land is zoned for commercial use. So in order for them to build apartments, it has to be rezoned to residential. That's why it was brought before the zoning commission, which ultimately, after about close to an hour of residents in the Rushing Road area voicing their disapproval of it, the zoning commission, denied to recommend that to the city council. But like I said, city council has the final say so, and that'll be coming up on March 28th, and that will be a marathon city council meeting, most likely.
Lots of
I was
discussion.
told to bring my pajamas, so that's what I'll be probably doing.
So be on the lookout for updates for both of those situations coming up. I say both of those situations. The parish meet coming up next week, and a marathon city council meeting.
And then we also have an election this weekend. By the way, I wrote that story. Didn't make the paper, but I mean, still worth bringing up.
Thank you.
2% of the registered voters did early voting. So, and there is a parish-wide issue on the ballot that property tax from the school board that funds the construction projects, in the school system, that brings in about $3.1 million per year, and it's been on the books since 1952. Yeah,
Yes.
1952. So that will be on. You go to your regular polling stations this Saturday from 7 to 8. So and we'll see whether or not the voters decide to pass that again. And then there's also alderman's race in Frick Settlement.
So be on the lookout for both those elections. Of course, spring elections. So try to get out and vote. They're typically not well traveled. So please try to get out and vote. So we're going to let these guys introduce themselves real quick. Going to start on the viewers left.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate all of you out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News weekly show. This is Group Therapy, where I get to sit down with these guys and talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish. Appreciate them taking their time out of a Wednesday morning to sit down with me and talk about it. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We appreciate you joining us one last time, and we will see you next time.